Okay, the idea here is to add the entanglement effect to a shot, and we're going to be working with farming 0040. And the only thing I've done in preparation for this is add the entanglement folder. As you can see here that it exists on entanglement, and right now there's nothing in it. So let's go and get started. So what we're going to do first is open the latest folder, or the latest update in of the animation file from the anim folder. Okay, still loading. And when it's loading, we get these messages prompting us to continue. A couple of those, and then maybe one more after that. I could have had this open, but I just want to make sure that every step is available. So we're going to start with making the scene easy to work with. We'll hide some things, delete some things, just to lighten it up, make it where it will be as stable as it can be for what we're about to do. See if we're ready here yet. Still going on. Let's let it do its thing here. Okay, looks like we're ready to go. We can turn A off and the default lights, textures on or off. We'll have to turn that on later in default materials. And notice here that we've got the correct 2048 by 1080 resolution, and we're looking through the work cam. This is the shot cam, and while we go through this first part, before that docks, I want to click this thing here. Okay, now before we go through this first part, I want to go to the perspective cam, and then I want to show cameras. Let's just show nothing first, because that's one of the things on the list. And then we want to see nerves, curves, and we want to see polygons. And for this, I want to see the cameras too, because I want to select this camera. Okay, I'm over here. Forgot to show that. So I'm over here. What I want to do is select this camera. Let's get rid of some of this stuff. We won't need anything like that. And then select the manipulator, so we can watch this as we step through this process of prepping this camera to be used for the entanglement. Now notice over here on the right in the channel box, I'm going to unlock the scale attributes to that, and then I'm going to open the transform modifying tool called reset transforms, and that's not freeze transforms. And the difference is that the reset transforms will let you reset these channels without, even if the hierarchy that it exists in has incoming connections. And so that would be key animation connections or possibly constraints. So let's go through that then. So I've unlocked these, and then I'll hit apply. Actually, in that case, nothing needed to be done. Let's just move on then. So now we've got, now then they don't need to be unlocked, but notice that there is incoming animation on this. So we want to mute that animation. We could just as well delete it, but I don't like to damage anything. I don't have to. And then set that to 1. Now when we're doing this, first of all, there's two things I want to do. First is select this, and then notice, I just want to step through this. Notice that the manipulator is still at the camera's node. So it's camera's node, camera's node, camera's node, and camera's node. So we got, on this file, we got lucky on that. Now, on other shots, that pivot, because of constraints or however it's been set up by the animator, that could change. That's subject to change, and keep an eye on that. And then the next thing you want to watch as we go through this is, let's look through the camera, and what we want to do is, here we are in the middle of the frame range. So what you want to keep an eye out for is if there's any jump while we do this. So we've changed this one, and what I mean is, if you freeze the transform of a camera with a pivot that's not at the camera's node, what we want to know is if that changes the composition of what's in the field of view. So then in that case we would need to do something different. Well, let's just keep going here. Okay, we got that one. Got this one. Let's mute this just to stay consistent about everything. Let's see if anything in this scene jumps. Everything looks great. And then finally this one, let's mute this. And you can expect all of this to be different on every shot. So just keep an eye on everything. Looks great. Okay, we're ready to go. This camera is ready to go. Let's see. We don't need that. Get rid of that. A lot of this stuff, for the purpose of adding the effect, we're just not going to need. That's a big delete there. Probably should have saved it. Anyway, fingers crossed here. Great. Okay, we don't need... Basically, we don't need anything that's not referenced in. We don't need that. Set. We don't need that. Okay. Reminder here, what's going on. Hide everything, show polygon, show nerves. Export path as a limbic. Let's do that. And to do that, we need to select the path. So let's get close here. And this is it. This is what we need to export. And we need to export it to, so let's select it. Select the transform. Cache, limbic. Export, selection. Let's do this. 84 to 245. That looks right. Time slider. And we want to put it in your Artella's local repository in the entanglement folder. So let's do that. And for this, it is here, entanglement. So it's this path here. So let's just grab that path out of Windows and put it here. So just to show you where we're at here, this is Artella local repository. On my system, it's on the F-Drive production 2 farming overall working. So let's go into entanglement, and then let's name this path, which is fine, and then it will append an ABC extension. So now here we go. Let's review the list while that's going through here. Prep the camera. Export as a limbic. We're about to save this folder or this scene, and when we do, it's going to be saved to this same scene. So it's going to be farming, entanglement, and then beside path a limbic, we're going to see this scene saved as a my ASCII. let's go through this a little bit farther. Then we're going to load this thing. Excuse me. And then what I want to do is, I see I'm going to have to pause here because I want to save this scene, and then I want to load it from Artella. And for me to upload this scene, I think it's 8 or 10 meg. I'm going to have to add this to the cloud because I don't want to load it locally. So I'm going to pause and come back to that. I noticed on this software, this recording software, that I can pause anytime I want. So I might be doing more pausing. Let's see. Okay, so this is, I unpaused it because it's just finished, and I don't want to skip this part. So what we're now going to do is save this file. So if we look in this entanglement folder, we've now got path.abc. Now we want to save this, save scene as, and I want to give it this same path. Let's go up one so you can see where it is. So into the entanglement folder, and this is a local repository, and I'm going to call this, instead of anim001, I'm going to call it ent.001. That's just for now. Let's let Maya do the update and the increment there, and we'll just say save as. Now then, if we look, okay, now I'm getting this prompt again because it's got to save the references. So now if we look in here, we've got a path, and oh, I saved it as a binary. I don't want to do that. I want to just delete this. So save as. Save. So now let's once more. Now let's look at this. And then once we're finished here, there will be 3 files in all. The third one will be the archive of the output of the render. So let's continue on. Now the next thing I'm going to do, first I want to exit out of this. And then I need to put this ASCII file onto Artella in the reference, in the entanglement. What I'm going to do is add this, and that's going to take some time. So I'm going to pause again and do that, and then I'll come back. Quick update. I have added the path and started the process of adding the entanglement. Looks like I've got another 2 or 3 minutes. So I'll pause again. Okay, we're back. And notice that the file has been uploaded. And so I want to turn it on and open it in Maya. And while that's happening, I'll pause again. Okay, scene is opening up. No drama so far. Well, what I'm going to do when this opens is to remember to turn on some of the things that I turned off before that need to be on for the hardware renderer to work correctly. Okay. I'm not seeing a problem. And one of the things we'll need in here are particles. And we will need textures. Let's see if that causes any. We've got, I think I can leave this material override on, and that speeds up things quite a bit. So let's see where we're at. Import entanglement. That's right, and then this order is important. import the entanglement, and you notice one of the next steps down here is to import the JSON path. This one here. This one needs to be done after the entanglement. So let's just go ahead and start down the list here. File, import, and this entanglement exists right now. It's in the cloud, but I will grab it from the assets characters entanglement active. Let's go back here, active, and then I've got the entanglement version 1 and version 2, and the reason I version these with the folders is because these entanglements are where the file it gets its namespace, and I want to keep this the same, and I haven't found a good way for Artella to deal with names that are the same, that are updated often. I'm sure there is one, but for now this is the workaround I've found. So when you go to get the entanglement, get the latest one. So if it's version 6 in here, grab version 6, and I'll try to keep all this stuff up to date. So if this gets incremented again, just get that. So we're going to go to version 2, latest version, and grab the entanglement. Oh, don't click on it. I clicked on it. Okay, I'm going to pause again and clean this up. Okay, fortunately the entanglement is tiny, so it only took a few seconds to clean that up. But we're importing again from the entanglement folder. No, this is the wrong one. Let me get, so you'll know what I'm doing. I'm getting this path, putting it in here, local repository, and then going to the latest version, which is version 2, and then grabbing the entanglement and importing that. Okay, now that's going to import it to the origin. So what we want to do is move it to where we need it. Let me see where I have that on the list. Okay, confirm the correct namespace. Let's go ahead and do that first. Confirm the correct namespace, because that's super important. Everything depends on that. Well, a lot depends on that. So let's get that worked out. Close some of this. And oops, there it is. Entanglement. And what you'd be looking for here is for it to not exist, or for it to be within the namespace of another namespace, or for it to have an extension like entanglement 1 or something else. So if it says anything but entanglement, then there's something wrong, and this looks exactly right. So let's close that. And then we want to constrain the camera locator to the shot camera. And to do that, let's go into the perspective mode so we can see this happen. And then we want to select the camera so you can see this. Select the camera, select the move tool, and then select the camera locator. And still with the move tool selected, cursor move around in the scene to find that. So we know this point constraint works because we'll see this locator snap from near the origin onto the camera. So then we want constrain, point constrain, snap. Great. So that looks good. So that step is finished. And now that means all of the sprites and the ribbon profile curve will point toward the camera. Okay. Now we're going through this. Confirm namespace constraint. Move the controller, or move the entanglement into position. So let's do that. So we want to select the entanglement. We do that in the outliner. That's here. Let's see where it is again. Okay, so it's over there. So we've got curves visible, so we should be able to see this. And all we want to do here is snap it up somewhere to where we can work with it. So snap it to there. That's a good place. And then just move it up, because what we have selected is the controller. And then what we want to do is bring in the path. Oh no, yeah, we want to import the Json file, which controls all of the render layers. And to do that, we open the render setup options, render setup menu, and then import all. And it comes from the same place as the entanglement. So it's right now characters entanglement working active. And then we want V2 or the latest version, and then here it is. So we select that, import it. We'll notice that it should populate this render setup. And then you want to select or click on this and make these layers not italicized, which just means it's now linked to the things that it was connected to, that it should have been connected to. So now it is. Okay, so that's good. Now we've got the render layers in here set up. So let's see. Import the Olympic path. Let's do that. Import. That's going to come from, remember where we were, which is this one. This space. And so here's the path. This is the path we exported from the anim file. So you want to import this. And who knows where that went. It's probably right here, but it doesn't really matter, because we're going to connect it. So next thing we want to do, let's make sure that I'm on the right place on my list. Connect path. Right. So let's do that. Let's clean this. Let's see. Let's first take these two. These are two we need. And move them to here. And what I did on the depth here is I just want this set to 1. We lost those. Select these again. Go to here and add them. Okay, and then let's just get rid of all of this. Okay, so now we have, this is the imported Olympic file. And then what we want to do is we want to connect it to the entanglement. And the entanglement connects, or the path connects to the entanglement in one and only one places. So what I'm going to do, what I'm doing here now is I'm finding the path that is actually this path here. And I want to load it into this. So now that I've got it selected, I want to add this to this node graph. And I don't need these, I don't think. What I need is these one layer in, and I'm really only interested in one thing here. And the name of the thing I'm interested in is, let's check, it's called path goal CRV Olympic node out in. So let's go. It's just these two. So we can get rid of all of this. And this is what we're looking for. And I wrote a little script to do this, but it's maintained with names. Let's see if it's worth sidetracking this to do that. Connect path. This is just path. No, I'm not going to do this. Let's just keep going here. So what we want to do, we found this node here, which is the node that is the connection from the entanglement, from the dynamic setup on the entanglement to the actual curve. And then the alembic that comes out of the path from the anim file, that's this here. And right now it's going to this curve inside what was the entanglement rig proxy. And then we're going to connect what is feeding this curve. So now it's going to start to be fed by this curve. So I'm going to take this connection here. I want to do this in a way that you can see that it changes, how it changes. Okay, so now then that curve moved into this curve, and so what that means is we can now delete the rig, and this is a big delete. So I'm going to save, do an increment and save here. Take just a second. And we're back here. Okay, I'm going to delete this rig. And then I'm going to hide this. Okay. So now that's the new entanglement. You'll see that it's moving along now. So that's connected. That's looking good. Now let's see. What's next? Connect path, delete rig, delete imported path. Yeah, let's do some housekeeping here. The imported path. Well, now I don't see it, but there's no reason to derail everything for that. Anyway, there's a transform load laying around in there somewhere that really needs to be deleted, but that's just basic housekeeping. Add a 100 frame run up. So we've got here the frame range is from 84 to 245. So we want this to be 84 minus 100, which would be 16, right? So minus. Okay, so now we've got a minus 100. We've got a minus 100 addition to that, and that means we need to renumber this. So we want this to be minus 16 to 245, and then we want to renumber so it's to 1 to, what is 245 minus 16? I should be able to do that. 229. If that's not exactly right, I don't want to bog everything down for that. I'll check that later and then make a note of it. But what we want is for this to be the right frame range out, which would be 1 to whatever it should be. I think it's 229. Anyway, that's the idea. I changed something there just because it's annoying that Maya won't remember that. But anyway, it's about to be changed as soon as we change to the correct layer. Add a 100 frame. Now populate the mask layer. That's an interesting thing here. What we want to do is this layer needs, it renders out the mask for the compositor to be able to control to constrain the entanglement to between the characters. So to do that, we need to put in this geometry mask layer both characters, the geometry for both characters. So to do that, we need to select it, and I think easiest way would be to hide the background and then show no NURBS curves. Is that it? I think that's it. Okay, and then what we want to do in this is add those 19 objects. That looks good. And then in this, we want to add these 28 objects. Okay, now let's see if that works. So let's first start we'll go to the ribbon layer and see if that's working. Okay, that looks good. Now, one thing I want to point out is I'm going to disable, my cursor is here, I'm going to disable this render flag. And you want to do that because if you forget, then you'll end up with some extraneous files that you need to delete, so it's not the end of the world. So now then that we know that the layers are selecting correctly, let's select this layer, and it should be just the two characters. Let's see if we got that. And it is not. So let's see what we did wrong. Let's go back here. Okay, so we are looking in the right place. So if I go to this geometry mask and just select this. Okay, it didn't work. So let's get rid of this. I'm not sure what I did wrong. This is not the normal way I populate this layer. But what I'm trying to do is make everything easy. So, select all of that and, I'm just going to try it again. Maybe I did something wrong. So add. No, that's not working. Okay, I'm going to pause for just a minute and figure out why. Hang on just a second. Okay, we're back, and what I was doing wrong is I needed to change the node type from custom, which I was doing polygons and NURBS surfaces, and I just changed it to all. Like I said, this is not the way I normally populate layers, but I think this will be the easiest way once we get things going. Require the fewest amount of instructions, or anyway, just the easiest. So what I want to do again is populate this, select the geometry, and remember I went into polygon mask mode. Actually, I don't think I did. I don't need to do that just because I've only got polygons showing. So normally, like I said, this is not my normal workflow, but let's just keep going. So we've got these 19 objects. I'll add those now with the collection filters set to all, and add, and then I'll add all of this character. Add. Now if I select ribbon to make sure everything is working right. Okay, now I select the mask layer, and we have the geometry necessary now. So if I select this, you can see that well, it's working, but I'm not, this is not selecting. Oh, here, select, right, okay. When I have it, usually I populate up here, and so I use that, but they've got a separate select here. Down here, I just noticed for whenever you're doing it this other way. So wait, so this is working great. So now we've got the geometry in this layer necessary to create the mass. Okay, so let's see what's next. We need to change the image's location for the output of the rendering, of the renderer. And to do that, we need to open. First of all, I want to get this. I want to get this line here because I'm going to need that. And I have an image here that I made but you're going to see this anyway. But I just want it to be clear what's going on. We're going to redirect this to the desktop, so it can be rendered locally and then moved onto Artella. So we want to open the project window, and images. I guess this carried over. Let's make sure this is exactly the same. Yeah. Wonder how that got there. Anyway, I guess whenever I was doing Umbrellas 9, it carried over from there. I wouldn't expect that, but I didn't reset the project, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. So there it is, and then click on Accept. So now we're redirecting the output of the hardware renderer to the desktop. Okay, now two other things that need to be populated, but it's super easy to do, is go into the light rings AB and light rings BA, into the geometry folder of those, geometry collection of those, and what we want to do here is just select everything. Super easy to do that, and it will select everything. So now if it's slowed things down. Hope it didn't crash. Okay, it didn't. Reminds me I should save this. Close some of those things. It's annoying. Okay, so we got light rings AB, light rings BA. So let's make sure everything is there. It's because we selected everything and put it in there. So let's make sure it's all there. Because what this is just an easy way to get something for the lights to bounce the shadows off of. Oh, that was beginning to wonder what was going on there, but what I did is I hid this folder of the rice rows, so I'm going to unhide that. Now we have everything there. So what we're going to do now is also add the everything symbol to the light rings BA collection. Select that, still selected, okay. Now let's just go in, let's enable that. We're waiting here for that to unfreeze. Okay, so let's enable this one. See if it works. Okay, that looks good. So let's go through these one at a time. The one thing I want to do is, now that this is in the scene, I want to run it up a little bit. Let's put it on something that has something in it. Let's just use these rings. And let's just run it for a little bit. And then there's a command I like to run that establishes these particles in this scene. So let's start back over and run it just enough to see something appear. There, we've got something there. Okay, they're the wrong size, but they're and the wrong density, but there they are. So let's take a look at them. And in fact, the way I like to, I'll do the dial in on a separate video, but I just want to point out here that if you change your background to black, it can make these easier to see. And so now that we have something in here, there's a command I like to run that kind of establishes, there's no way in Maya and Maya's whole end particles to really do a proper initial state. We can't really set it the way you'd intuitively expect initial state to work, but what we can do is get it in the scene and kind of just jostle it into place. So we're going to take this file here, which is just to select all of the particles, and then clear the initial state, and then perform or clear their states, and then perform an initial state. Even though it doesn't work the way you hope it was, at least it makes the particle kind of particle system aware that it's in a new scene file. And so what I'm going to do is copy that, and then I'm going to post it into the script editor here, and then I'm just going to run that. Okay, so now then we've just told the particles to be reset, even though it's not an ideal situation, but there we have it. Okay, and that I've noticed that really helps in making it less buggy. So let's see what we've got next. Okay, now this step here, individual render layers, disable base layer, I talked about that, and then render layers, archive entanglement folder. Okay, this step here, this is part of dial in, and I'll cover that in the next video, which is going to be how to dial the entanglement in once you get it into the scene. Okay, so that's, what I'm going to do now is save this. This needs to be saved. Oh yeah, we already did it. So I'll just increment this save, and then it'll be ready to go. So that's the end of this video, and I'll pick up with a dial-in video so we can talk about how to get the look that we need once the entanglement is in the scene. Thanks a lot. Bye.